The world where Liraya was born had no color. Everything was gray. The sky, the ground, even the rivers that flowed between the silent cities. Her people had lived like this for generations. They did not question it anymore. They worked, they slept, and they dreamed in shades of white and black. But Liraya was not like the others. Since childhood, she had felt something was missing. When she looked at the sky, she felt a strange ache inside her chest, as if the heavens were hiding something from her. The elders told her it was nonsense. They said colors were just ancient myths, old stories to entertain children. But Liraya couldn't stop thinking about them. She often stood by the edge of the marketplace where traders from far lands came to sell metal and strange machines. The place smelled of dust and oil. Her long silver eyes always searched for something new, something that felt alive. One day a stranger arrived. He was human. His name was Evan. He came with a bag full of broken machines and glowing tools. Most people avoided him. Humans were rare visitors, and stories said they brought trouble. But Liraya didn't feel fear. She felt curiosity. Evan worked quietly at a stall made of old metal sheets. The others traded with him quickly and left. But Liraya stayed. She watched him carefully. When he lifted his visor for a moment, she saw a flicker, a faint shimmer on the glass. Something strange happened. For the first time in her life, she saw a light that wasn't gray. It was soft, like warmth, like fire inside the glass. It disappeared quickly, but it burned into her memory. She couldn't stop staring. Her heart raced. She walked closer. "What is that?" she asked softly. Evan looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "The thing in your visor." "I saw something different." He hesitated, studying her. "You saw color?" "I don't know what that word means," she said honestly. But it wasn't gray. It was alive. Evan lowered his tools. His face changed, not fear, not anger, but something sad. "Your people can't see color," he said quietly. "You shouldn't be able to," Liraya frowned. "Why, what is color?" He looked around before answering. "It's light. The world has many kinds of light, but your eyes only see part of it. Color is the rest, the beauty you were never meant to see." His words stayed with her long after he left the market that day. That night she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the strange light in his visor. She wanted to see it again. The next morning she found his small workshop at the edge of the city. He was repairing a broken drone. She stood quietly until he noticed her. "You again," he said with a small smile. "I want to know what you saw," she said. "The thing you called color." He looked at her for a long time, then sighed. "You wouldn't understand it with words." "Then show me," she said. He hesitated. "It's not that simple." Liraya stepped closer. "Please, I've lived my whole life in gray. I want to know what's hiding from me." Evan watched her with something like pity. He had seen this look before, the hunger for truth. It was dangerous. But her voice reminded him of himself long ago, before he lost his own sight and before he built the visor that gave him back the world. Finally, he nodded. "Maybe I can help you. But it will take time." He pulled out a small metal case and opened it. Inside were tiny shards of glass and glowing fragments. "Your eyes are different from mine," he explained.
"If I can make a lens that bends light the right way, maybe you'll see what I see." Liraya's heart beat faster.
"You can really do that?" "I can try," he said. "But if anyone finds out, it could be trouble for both of us. Your people believe color is forbidden." "I don't care," she said simply. "I just want to see." And so their secret work began. Days turned into weeks. Liraya visited Evan's workshop every night after the market closed. She watched him melt the strange glass, shape it, and test it under dim light. He explained that color was hidden inside every beam of light. They just needed to unlock it. Sometimes she asked questions. "What does color look like?" He would smile. "It's like feeling warmth and cold at the same time. It can be soft or it can hurt, but once you see it, you'll never forget it." The thought made her shiver. She didn't understand, but she wanted to. Outside, rumors spread. People whispered that the human was building dangerous machines. The guards began to ask questions. But Liraya kept coming. She couldn't stop now. Something deep inside told her that this path mattered. One night, as the twin moons rose, Evan held up a small pair of lenses. They shimmered faintly in his hands. "They're not perfect," he said, "but they might work." Liraya's voice trembled. "Will they let me see color?" He looked at her with quiet hope. "Maybe, But once you see it, you'll never see the world the same way again. She reached for them with shaking hands. The light from the moons fell through the workshop window, catching on the lenses and scattering across the floor. And for just one heartbeat, the gray light turned into something more. She gasped softly, not knowing if it was real or her imagination. Evan smiled faintly. That's only a glimpse. Tomorrow, when the suns rise, you'll wear them properly. Then you'll see what your world truly looks like. Liraya looked down at the shimmering glass, her heart racing. She felt fear, but also something brighter. Hope. The colorless world around her seemed to hold its breath, waiting for morning. The suns rose slowly over the gray city. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Liraya stood outside Evan's small workshop, her hands pressed together, waiting. She had not slept all night. The image of those strange glowing lenses stayed in her mind. She wanted to see what he saw, to feel what he felt when he looked at the world. When the door opened, Evan looked tired. His face was covered in dust, his eyes shadowed from hours of work. But when he saw her, a faint smile appeared. "You came early," he said. "I couldn't wait," she replied. "You said you'd finish the lenses." He nodded and walked back inside. "Almost. But before I show you anything, you must understand something. Once you see color, you'll never be the same again." Liraya followed him into the workshop. It was filled with tools, wires, and strange human devices she could not name. The air was warm from the light of burning crystals. On one table lay thin pieces of metal shaped like small circles. They glowed faintly, breathing like something alive. Evan picked up one of the lenses and held it against the light. The glow reflected across the walls, showing soft shades that Liraya had no words for. Her breath caught. Even without wearing them, she felt a pulse of life from those colors. "What is that feeling?" she whispered. "That," Evan said quietly, "is what your people lost a long time ago." He sat down, running his fingers along the metal frame. "Your species once saw color long before the war. But when the humans and your people fought, both sides changed. The radiation, the weapons, and the experiments, they took away your color sight. It was meant to protect you, but it also trapped you in gray." Liraya frowned. "Why would anyone choose to live without color?" "Because color reminds us of emotion," he said softly, "and emotion reminds us of pain." She didn't understand fully, but she could hear sadness in his voice. "And you? You still see color?" He nodded. "Yes, but not everyone from my kind does anymore. Some humans changed too. Some lost the will to see beauty." Liraya stepped closer. "Then why help me?" He looked at her and smiled faintly. "Because I once lived without sight. For years I was blind after the war. Someone gave me my vision back. Maybe it's time I return the gift." The way he said it made her chest feel warm and heavy. She watched him carefully as he worked. His hands were steady, careful, patient. Every movement showed care. The silence between them felt alive. As the hours passed, Evan explained more. "These lenses are not normal glass. They are made from fragments of prism cores. Light stones your people mined long ago. They react to emotion. That's why they shine when you're near." Liraya stared at the table. The small shards glowed brighter when she touched them. "It feels like they're breathing." "They are," Evan said quietly. "Light always breathes. You just never noticed before." Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. A storm was coming. People hurried through the market, closing their stalls. But inside the workshop, time stood still. Evan placed the last wire into the frame. The lenses shimmered faintly, blue, gold, then white. "It's ready," he said. "But I need to test it first." He placed the glasses on the table carefully. Liraya reached out, but he stopped her. "Not yet. The storm might interfere. Light is unstable right now. Wait for dawn." She looked disappointed. "I've waited my whole life to see. I can't wait any longer." He shook his head. "If the test fails, it could hurt you. Color isn't only beauty, Liraya. It's truth. And truth burns if you're not ready." She fell silent. The storm outside grew louder. Lightning flashed through the window, lighting up the room for a moment. In that flash, she thought she saw faint hues on Evan's face. Blue under his eyes, gold in his hair. She blinked and it was gone. He noticed her staring. "What is it?" "Nothing," she said softly. "Maybe I imagined it." Evan turned off the machines one by one. "Go home for now. Tomorrow we'll finish what we started." She hesitated. "You promise?" "I promise," he said. Tomorrow you'll see your world for the first time. As she walked away, the rain began to fall. Each drop sparkled faintly through the air. She didn't know if it was her imagination again, but for a heartbeat the water didn't look gray anymore. It shimmered with something new. In the workshop, Evan watched from the window. He held the finished glasses in his hands, the glow reflecting in his tired eyes. Tomorrow, he whispered to himself, she'll finally see the truth. The storm rumbled one last time, and the light from his table flickered softly. Red, blue, green, the colors of a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Morning light slowly crept across the gray city. The storm had passed, leaving behind wet streets that shimmered faintly under the twin suns. The air was cool and still. Inside Evan's workshop, the only sound was the quiet hum of his machines. Liraya stood at the doorway, her heart beating fast. She had barely slept. Her thoughts were full of questions, full of fear and excitement. Today was the day she would finally see the world the way Evan did. Evan looked up from his table. His eyes were tired, but his smile was calm. "You're early again," she nodded. "I couldn't stay away." He gestured for her to come closer. On the table lay the glasses. They looked different now. The lenses pulsed with a soft glow, shifting between blue and gold like breathing light. The frame was made of thin silver metal, shaped carefully to fit her face. Liraya stared at them, her hands trembling. "They look alive." "They are," Evan said. "Light lives. You'll understand soon." She took a deep breath. "What will happen when I put them on?" Evan's voice softened. "You'll see what's been hidden from your kind for centuries. But remember this, and beauty always comes with truth. And truth is not always kind." Liraya hesitated. Then she nodded. "I'm ready." Evan lifted the glasses carefully and placed them in her hands. They were warm, as if holding sunlight. She raised them slowly, her reflection trembling in the faint glow. For one heartbeat, she saw her own gray eyes staring back at her, dull, empty, lifeless. Then she put them on. The world exploded. Her breath caught as light filled her vision. Colors burst across the room like living fire. The gray walls turned to soft silver blue. The air shimmered with gold dust floating in the light beams. Every small thing, a bolt, a wire, a drop of water, glowed with its own secret hue. She gasped and stumbled back. "What is this? It's too much." Evan caught her arm gently. "It's color. Breathe slowly. Let your eyes learn." She blinked rapidly, tears streaming down her face. Every color had a feeling. Red felt like warmth. Blue felt calm. Green felt alive. Yellow made her heart race. She turned toward Evan and froze. He wasn't gray anymore. His skin carried a warm tone she had no name for. His hair reflected light like metal fire. And his eyes were deep, filled with colors that moved when he breathed. "You," she whispered. "You look alive," he smiled softly. "Now you understand." She couldn't stop looking around. The world she thought she knew was new again. The metals of the market roof sparkled in the distance. The sky, once dull, now stretched in endless shades of blue. Even her own hands glowed faintly with lavender light. Her joy turned to tears. "I didn't know our world was beautiful. Why did no one tell us?" Evan's smile faded. "Because long ago your ancestors chose not to see. The war broke them. They couldn't bear the sight of destruction, so they changed themselves. They believed blindness would bring peace." Liraya looked at the city through the window. Now that she could see color, she also saw what her people had tried to hide. The buildings weren't smooth, they were burned, scarred from old battles. The statues in the streets were stained with marks that once went unnoticed. The truth was everywhere. She turned back to Evan, voice shaking. "It's not just beauty. It's pain," he nodded. "Color shows everything, and the light and the dark. You can't have one without the other." Liraya took off the glasses for a moment. The colors vanished, replaced again by lifeless gray. The silence felt heavier than before. She quickly put them back on, unable to bear the emptiness. "I don't ever want to see the world like that again," she whispered. "Then don't," Evan said gently. "Keep seeing no matter how much it hurts." Outside, the people in the market were beginning to notice. They pointed toward the glowing light coming from Evan's workshop. Some whispered in fear. Others shouted warnings. "Forbidden light! The human has cursed her." Evan moved quickly to shut the windows. "They'll come soon. We have to be careful." Liraya's heartbeat quickened. Let them come. I won't hide. They should see what I see. He looked at her with quiet pride. You sound braver than any human I've met. The voices outside grew louder. The city guards were gathering. Evan handed her a small pack filled with tools and data crystals. If they find us, they'll destroy everything. Take these and run toward the northern ridge. I'll find you, she shook her head. I won't leave without you, he smiled sadly. You might have to. The truth must survive, even if I don't. Before she could reply, the door rattled with heavy knocks. The guard shouted orders from outside. Liraya slipped the glasses into her cloak and grabbed Evan's hand. Then we run together, she said. They dashed through the back door into the narrow streets behind the workshop. The light of morning followed them, breaking across the gray walls like spilled paint. Liraya looked back once. The workshop glowed behind them, filled with color, with truth, with hope. She tightened her grip on Evan's hand. I've seen what they tried to hide. I'll never close my eyes again. Evan nodded. Then you're ready for the next step, to see what color hides beneath memory. The night was cold when they escaped the city. Liraya and Evan moved quietly through the dark alleys, their footsteps echoing against the wet stone. The sound of the guards faded behind them, but she could still feel their presence like shadows chasing her heart. They crossed the metal bridge that led out of the lower district. The city lights glowed weakly in the distance, gray and lifeless compared to the living colors she now saw. Every flicker of flame, every spark from a broken wire shimmered with meaning. The world was no longer still. It breathed. It spoke in colors only she could see. Evan stopped near an old tunnel entrance. We can rest here, he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He was always watching the distance as if expecting danger at any moment. Liraya sat down, still holding the glasses close. She didn't want to take them off. The world without them felt empty, false. The colors she now saw danced softly around her like whispers from another time. Evan, she said quietly, why did my people choose blindness? How could they give up something so beautiful? Evan sighed. You saw it yourself. When you looked at the city, you saw the truth. The buildings were stained from the war. The air was full of scars. Your people couldn't bear to look at what they had done, so they changed their eyes instead of their hearts. She stared at the ground, silent. The truth hurt more than she expected. And humans? She asked. What did your kind do? He hesitated before answering. We caused it. The first wave of the war began when humans tried to control the prism mines on your planet. We wanted the light stones for our machines. We called it progress, but it blinded both of us in the end. Liraya turned to him, her voice trembling. So you came here to fix what your people broke? Yes, he said softly. But not for guilt, for hope. I wanted to give your world back what we both lost. The tunnel around them glowed faintly from the crystals buried in the walls. The colors shifted with their voices. When Evan spoke, the light turned blue. When Liraya moved, it glowed soft violet. She realized that even the air responded to emotion now. The world was alive again. For hours they talked. He told her stories of Earth, a place she had only heard about in stories. Oceans that changed colors with the sky. Trees that turned gold when seasons passed. Flowers that spoke through their shades. She listened in silence, imagining a world that felt like dreams. When she closed her eyes, she could almost see it. And when she opened them again, something new caught her attention. Strange symbols carved into the stone beside her. She leaned closer. Evan, look at this. The carvings glowed faintly through her glasses. Lines, circles, and marks that formed a pattern. She could feel energy inside them. Evan touched the symbols carefully. These are old war marks, he said. Your ancestors sealed entire memories inside these stones. They used light to hide what they didn't want to remember. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Can we open them? He nodded slowly. If the glasses react to them, yes. She lifted her head, the lenses glowing brighter as she focused on the markings. The symbols pulsed once, then twice. The tunnel filled with light. She gasped as images flashed before her eyes. She saw her people before the war. Their cities were bright and filled with color. Humans walked beside them, building and trading. Then came the fire. Explosions. Skies turning red. Machines tearing through the earth. Her kind screaming as the light faded. The vision ended as quickly as it began. She fell to her knees, breathing hard. We destroyed ourselves, she whispered. Evan knelt beside her. You see now why your people hid from light? They couldn't bear to remember. She covered her face with her hands. It's too much, Evan. I don't know what to do with it. He placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to carry it alone. The truth is heavy, but it's also the first step to healing. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with both pain and understanding. Then I'll carry it, she said. If no one else will. Outside, the first light of dawn reached the tunnel. It glowed faintly gold, spreading across the stone walls. Through her glasses, she saw the colors blend into soft waves of warmth. Evan smiled. You've seen the truth. Now it's time to decide what to do with it. Liraya stood, wiping her tears. Her voice was calm now. I'll show them. All of them. They deserve to see what we've hidden. He nodded. Then we move north to the open lands. From there we can reach the Prism Valley. The light there is pure. It will help us finish the work. She looked back at the city one last time. The gray tower stood still, lifeless and blind. They won't believe me, she said softly. Then make them, Evan replied. Light can't be unseen. The two of them stepped out of the tunnel. The sky above the mountains shimmered with color. The air felt alive. For the first time, Liraya didn't fear the truth. She embraced it. The path to the Prism Valley was long and silent. The ground shimmered faintly with thin streams of crystal dust that glowed beneath the surface. Liraya walked ahead, the glasses still shining softly on her face. Each step revealed something new. Faint colors in the stones, lights that moved with her heartbeat, whispers that came from the air itself. Evan followed behind, his pace slower. The journey had begun to wear him down. His skin looked pale under the sunlight, but he said nothing. He only smiled whenever she looked back. They had been walking for days since leaving the city. At night, they slept beneath the stars. Liraya had never seen stars before. Through her glasses, they were not just points of light. They were alive, full of color and motion. The sky itself seemed to breathe. One night, as the wind passed over the cliffs, she asked softly, Do you think my people will ever understand? Evan sat beside the fire. Maybe not all of them, he said. But some will. It only takes one person to change how a world sees. Liraya stared into the fire, the flames turning from red to blue in her vision. I want them to see what I see. But when I remember what the tunnel showed me, the truth feels heavy. He nodded slowly. Truth always is. But that's why light matters. It doesn't erase the pain and it helps you face it. They sat in silence, watching the sky. The stars above reflected in her glasses like 1,000 small promises. She didn't know why, but she felt closer to him in that moment than ever before. When morning came, they reached the edge of the valley. The air shimmered faintly. A wide expanse of crystal plain stretched ahead, glowing in soft waves of color. Rivers of light flowed beneath the ground like veins under skin. Liraya stopped and stared. It's beautiful, she whispered. Evan smiled weakly. You're seeing the heart of your world. The Prism Valley creates the light that feeds the whole planet. It's where your ancestors first learned to shape color. She took a step forward. The ground hummed under her feet. Every sound echoed softly, turning into light patterns that floated in the air. The valley felt alive, ancient, and waiting. Evan leaned against a rock, breathing heavier than before. Liraya turned quickly. You're not well, she said. He tried to laugh, but it came out faint. I've been sick for a long time. Radiation from the old war. It's been eating at me for years. She knelt beside him, worry filling her chest. Why didn't you tell me? He looked at her, his eyes full of calm. Because it didn't matter. My life has already given me purpose. I wanted to finish this to see you bring back the light. Her hand shook as she held his arm. There must be a way to help you, he smiled faintly. You already are. Every moment I see you look at the world the way I once did. That's healing enough. The wind blew softly, carrying light particles that glowed like fireflies. Liraya looked around and saw something strange. The valley's colors were changing. The lights shifted when Evan spoke, glowing softer near him. The valley responds to emotion, she said quietly. It reacts to life. Evan nodded weakly. Then maybe it can remember us too. They stayed in the valley for hours. Liraya explored its edges, touching the glowing stones that pulsed like living hearts. When she placed her hands on the ground, the colors grew brighter. The valley recognized her. Evan watched her with a faint smile. You're connected to it now. You're seeing what your people forgot. That light is part of them. She turned toward him, tears shining in her eyes. Then I'll bring it back. For everyone. I promise." As night came, she built a small fire. The crystals nearby shimmered in response. The light wrapped around them gently, filling the air with warmth. Evan leaned back against the stones, his breathing slow. Liraya looked at him with worry. "You need to rest." He closed his eyes. "I will. Just for a while." She sat beside him and watched the stars above. The valley lights reflected off his face, painting it in colors he had once described. "Red for courage. Gold for hope, blue for peace," she whispered softly. "You gave me sight, Evan. Now I'll give it to everyone." He didn't answer, but a small smile touched his lips. The valley glowed brighter, as if hearing her promise. The light spread across the hills, reaching far into the dark horizon. For the first time, Liraya felt that her world was awakening again. Still, something in her heart whispered that time was running out. Evan's glow was fading. The colors around him had begun to dim. She looked at the horizon, her fists clenched. "Tomorrow," she said, "I'll find a way to save him, and save the light he gave me." The wind carried her words across the glowing valley, and the crystals answered with a soft hum, a sound like hope rising in the dark. Hook for next part. As the suns rise over the Prism Valley, Liraya will learn the true cost of Evan's gift, and she must choose between saving him or saving the light meant to awaken her entire world. The suns rose slowly over the Prism Valley, painting the sky in soft light. The air shimmered faintly, filled with quiet energy. Liraya woke with a start, her heart heavy. Evan was still beside her, resting against the glowing stones. His face looked calm but pale. The color that once surrounded him now flickered weakly, as if fading away. She touched his hand. It was cold. "Evan," she whispered, "wake up." He opened his eyes slowly and smiled faintly. "Still here," he said in a weak voice. Liraya's chest tightened. "You're getting worse," he didn't deny it. "The radiation from the war has been killing me for years. I knew it would catch up one day." Tears burned in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. "You can't leave now. We've come too far." Evan looked at the valley, his gaze soft. "Look around you, Liraya. This place is alive again. That's what we came for." She shook her head. "Not without you." He smiled, a tired but gentle smile. "Maybe not with me either. The light doesn't belong to one person. It belongs to everyone who chooses to see." She turned away, her heart aching. The valley shimmered brighter, almost as if it could hear them. The colors swirled through the air, forming soft waves that moved like breath. Liraya felt something deep inside. A pulse, a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. The valley was responding to her again. She stepped forward and placed her hand on the nearest crystal. It glowed instantly, flooding the air with shades she had never seen before. Evan watched, his eyes widening. "It listens to you," he whispered. "It feels what you feel." She closed her eyes. The light wrapped around her hands, warm and alive. She felt Evan's energy through it, faint but still there. The valley was connected to them both. "Maybe I can save you," she said softly. He shook his head. "Don't use the light for me. It's meant for your world." She looked at him, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You gave me sight. You gave me everything. I can't just let you fade." He took a slow breath. "Then help me finish what we started. If I'm gone, the last spectrum must live through you." "The last spectrum?" she asked. He nodded weakly and reached for his bag. Inside was a small crystal core wrapped in cloth. It pulsed faintly with shifting colors. "This is the final design. It connects light with memory. When you wear it, it won't just show you color. It will show the emotions of the past. Every joy, every pain, every truth. It's the complete spectrum." Liraya held the device carefully. "You want me to use it?" "Yes," he said. "Once you wear it, you'll carry all the memories of our worlds. You'll be the bridge between what was lost and what can return." She stared at the crystal, afraid and amazed at the same time. "And what about you?" He smiled faintly. "My part ends here. But through the light, I'll still be with you." Her voice trembled. "I don't want a memory, Evan. I want you." He reached out, his fingers brushing her hand. "Sometimes a memory is stronger than a life. It lasts longer. It teaches more." The valley began to hum. The ground shimmered beneath them. Liraya felt her heart racing. The air around Evan glowed faintly, then slowly dimmed again. His strength was leaving him. She couldn't wait any longer. She lifted the crystal device and placed it on her glasses. The two connected instantly, fusing into one. The glow burst outward in waves of color that filled the valley. Liraya gasped as visions poured into her mind. She saw her ancestors walking through cities of light. She saw humans and aliens building together. She saw laughter, love, creation, and then the war that tore it all apart. She felt the grief, the fear, and the silence that followed. When the vision faded, she was shaking. Her tears fell like rain, shining in the colors that now filled the air. She turned toward Evan. He was lying still, his eyes half closed, a peaceful smile on his face. "You saw it," he whispered. "You saw everything." "I did," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "And it was beautiful." He looked up at her one last time. "Then my work is done." The glow around him flickered once, then faded gently. His hand slipped from hers. The light in the valley pulsed brighter for a moment, not in sorrow but in peace. Liraya held his hand against her heart. "You kept your promise," she whispered. The crystals around her began to change, forming a wave of color that rose into the sky. The valley was alive again, full of motion and warmth. Evan's light had joined it, spreading far beyond her reach. Liraya stood slowly. The glasses on her face shone with every color of the spectrum. She looked toward the horizon, her voice calm. "I'll finish it. I'll make them see what you gave me." The suns rose higher, lighting the valley in gold. The light reflected in her eyes, burning softly like hope. Many seasons passed after that day in the Prism Valley. Time changed the world slowly, but not Liraya. She still carried the light inside her, the same light Evan had given his life to protect. The glasses he built never left her. They had become part of her soul. Through them she saw a world that was still asleep, waiting to wake. She walked across the lands that were once gray and lifeless. Everywhere she went, color followed her like a living wind. Flowers bloomed in her path. Rivers shimmered in shades of blue and silver. But when she reached the borders of her city, the air turned dull again. The towers stood tall, empty and gray, untouched by light, untouched by change. The people stared as she entered. Some gasped. Others stepped back in fear. They remembered her face, the girl who had once seen forbidden light and vanished into exile. "She's back," they whispered. "The cursed one returns. She brings human tricks." Liraya kept walking. Their words no longer frightened her. She had seen what they could not. She had seen beauty and pain and truth. At the heart of the city stood the Grand Hall, a wide open place made of stone, cold and cracked from years of silence. There she placed the prism crystal that carried Evan's memory. The people gathered around, curious but cautious. One of the elders stepped forward. "Why have you come here?" he demanded. "Your kind betrayed our peace with the humans long ago. You should not have returned." Liraya raised her head, her voice calm and clear. "I came to give you back what you lost. Your sight, your truth, your color." The crowd murmured. Some laughed, some shouted. But she didn't stop. She lifted the glasses, now glowing with the final spectrum, and held them high for all to see. The light spread through the hall in soft waves. It touched the walls, the floors, the faces of the people. The gray began to fade. The stone shimmered with gold. The banners on the walls revealed old patterns long hidden. The air filled with warmth and gentle color. The people gasped as they saw one another in light for the first time. Their skin shimmered in tones they never knew existed. Their eyes glowed softly like living gems. "This," Liraya said, "is what we were meant to see. Not fear, not lies, just truth." An elder fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. "It's real," he whispered. All the stories were real. The others began to weep too. Mothers hugged their children. Friends reached out and touched one another's faces like they were seeing them for the first time. Liraya turned toward the window. The suns were rising, casting beams of light through the hall. She stepped forward, holding the crystal high. The light hit it and split into many colors in red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. A rainbow spread across the sky. The people ran outside, pointing upward. Some had never seen such a thing. They watched in silence as the colors arched above the city, painting the gray towers in soft, living light. "It's beautiful," someone whispered. "What do we call it?" asked a child. Liraya smiled softly. "It's called a rainbow." On the world of humans, it was a promise. After every storm, it meant hope. The crowd stood in silence, staring at the sky. For the first time in centuries, the city looked alive. The light reflected in every window, every street, every heart. Liraya felt warmth spread through her chest. She looked up and whispered, "You see it, don't you, Evan? You kept your promise." The air shimmered for a moment. In the rainbow's glow, she saw a faint golden spark, small, gentle, but familiar. It pulsed once like a heartbeat, then faded into the sky. She smiled. Goodbye, my friend. That day became the beginning of a new age. Her people called it the dawn of colors. They rebuilt their cities, painted their homes, and taught their children about light and truth. But they never forgot who gave it back to them. Songs were written about the seer of light, the alien girl who returned from the shadows carrying the colors of a lost world. Every year when the twin suns rose together, a rainbow appeared across the sky. The people said it was Liraya's promise, and his, reminding them that light always returns after darkness. In her final years, Liraya often walked to the same hill outside the city where she had first seen Evan's visor shimmer. She would sit there quietly, wearing the same glasses that had once changed her life. One morning as the suns rose, she looked at the horizon. The rainbow appeared again, brighter than ever before. She smiled, her voice soft but steady. Sometimes, she whispered, the brightest colors come from the darkest eyes. The wind carried her words across the valley. The light touched the city once more, and the people lifted their faces to the sky, seeing in full color, just as she once did. The world was no longer colorless. It was alive,